Good morning. Hey, let's talk hormones. The By Design plan is all about controlling your hormones. I say this all the time. I just wanted to clarify what I'm talking about. We don't treat your weight issue, we treat your hormone issue. Your weight issue is just a symptom of your hormones being out of whack. Our hormones get out of whack based on how we eat. We've got a client that had been struggling with hormone issues for years. Within 8 weeks, what the doctors could not do with their idea of practice in medicine, we were able to do by putting on a whole, all natural, high fat, moderate protein, lots of green veggie plan. We're able to get our hormones straightened out in under 8 weeks. So this ain't make believe. This ain't a special pill that you take. This isn't some fad. This is actually, it's hard work, it's dedication. But if you're willing to put in the time and the effort, I can help walk you through the process that turns you into the best you ever, the healthiest, the best feeling, the best dad, the best mom, the best everything, the best Christian, the best preacher, and help you enjoy that abundant life promised to us by our Father. So let's talk hormones. Now, there's 4 basic hormones that we address with our By Design plans. There's insulin, ghrelin, leptin, and cortisol. Now, insulin being the main one, it's responsible for what we call the anabolic effect of delivering protein to the muscles, and also for regulating blood sugar is the main thing that it does. We all realize that if my blood sugar gets too high, I die. Everybody knows that, right? It's called sugar toxic. If you ingest too much sugar, like if a type 1 diabetic ingests too much sugar, he has become sugar toxic. And if he doesn't get insulin by way of an injection exogenously, what's going to happen is his blood sugar is going to get to the point where he's going to get into a diabetic coma and he's going to die dead. Same thing happens for people that are glucose impaired, type 2 diabetics. Your blood sugar running 300-400. Through putting you on the right diet, we've seen people's blood sugar drop 300 points in less than a week. I've seen it drop a couple hundred points in 2 days just by changing, going back to how you were created to eat. So let's talk about insulin. What insulin does is it tells your body to store fat. Now, the reason that it tells your body to store fat, because when we were created originally by God, and then when we left the garden, God being who He is, knew that there would be times that we would go without food. Now, fat is the body's preferred fuel source. However, we've gotten our bodies hooked on carbohydrates, and that's part of our plan, is to slowly transition you from a carbohydrate-rich diet to a fat-rich diet that God created you to operate under. So insulin is designed to bring your blood sugar down. Now, if I eat something like at a Chinese restaurant that has a lot of MSG, or if I eat something with maltodextrin or something, or I eat a lot of sugar, like cupcakes and French fries and potatoes, and a high carbohydrate diet, what happens is insulin goes into panic mode. It releases a bunch of insulin, brings your blood sugar crashing down. When your blood sugar goes down, guess what? Your body releases ghrelin, telling you it's time to eat. We're going to talk about ghrelin in a second. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about is, if we would have killed something in the Garden of Eden, right outside the Garden of Eden, we would have ate. Our body would have released the insulin. Our insulin would have took the excess food and turned it into fat. It would have produced fat. We would have stored the fat mainly around our torsos, because that's where we need the most protection. You can get shot in the arm, you get hit in the arm, it doesn't really bother you that much. But if you get shot in the belly shot's going to get you. So your body realizes to protect your torso, that's the reason you store fat around your midsection. Now, there's other issues there with estrogen and testosterone and things like that we're going to talk about in a second. It's sort of like if I had a car and I filled it up with gas, and I ran it a mile down the road and I still had a full tank of gas, and I stopped at another service station and I began to fill it up again. In order to put more gas in there, I'd have to produce another fuel tank. Well, that's what your fat cells are. They're fuel tanks. And since we don't have any lean times anymore, what happens is we just create fuel tank upon fuel tank upon fuel tank, and that's how we end up 100, 200, maybe even 50. Some clients 300 pounds overweight because you just kept producing more and more and more fuel tanks, and that's where the extra fat comes from. Now, fat is very important. It's at a certain level. I always recommend that people, not try to get under 10% body fat unless you're a competitive bodybuilder or physique or classic physique competitor, bikini. You want to keep your body fat in that 12 to 15% range. I think that's where you need to be. We don't have to look all ripped up 365 days a year. It's just not healthy. What we have to do to get ready for a bodybuilding show, I promise you, isn't healthy. We do it because it's a passion of ours. So our body is produced to release insulin from our pancreas maybe 30 minutes a day. But what we've done with this modern American diet, we've adjusted our pancreas to releasing insulin 24 hours a day. We're constantly releasing insulin on kind of the food that we ingest. Now, when you get started on my plan, one of the biggest things you're going to know a couple weeks in is you're not that hungry anymore because we've controlled that insulin spike. We give you the food that doesn't spike the insulin up real high. We'll give you food that keeps that insulin stable like God created it to be. A lot of foods that are described by one word: chicken, turkey, salmon, hamburger, or beef, spinach, kale, lettuce, squash, zucchini, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, asparagus. We feed you a diet that's described by one word because that's how God created you to eat. God did not create genetically modified foods, not genetically modified corn oil, canola oil. All that stuff is really, really bad for you. You want foods that God created, making up 90% of your diet every day. Let me give you an idea on fat as fuel. There's a fellow back, and I'll send the link out again. I've sent it out several times. A fellow several years ago, back in the late 60s, went on a 392-day fast. For 392 days, he had coffee, tea, multivitamins, and multiminerals. He lost over 200 pounds during that time. I'll send the exact link. And you say, how's that possible? Well, what happened was his body converted from using carbohydrates as fuel, as fat as fuel, and his body began to use his stored body fat as fuel. And for 392 days, he ate nothing. So it's important that you understand that what we're working toward is we're working toward getting your body, the hormones lined up, keeping that insulin stable, which is very, very important, and just stabilizing the hormones altogether. Now, ghrelin is a hunger stimulant hormone that is released at a certain time every day. It also assists with the release and the secretion of human growth hormone that we'll talk about in a little bit. So if I'm used to eating at 6 o'clock every morning, my ghrelin's going to be released, and I'm going to know I'm hungry at 6 o'clock in the morning. What we do with the By Design plan is we slowly close up that window. I may have you eating your first meal at a certain time this week, and then the next week I bump your first meal an hour, and I continue to do that until we get you to a 6 to 8 hour eating window and fasting the rest of the time, and I'll explain to you why that's important. Now, leptin is another hormone that is released that actually slows down your appetite or decreases your appetite. Unfortunately, if you're overweight or severely overweight, what happens is your body's not producing leptin or not responding to leptin like it should. A lot of times our pancreas can be producing insulin, but our cells have become so desensitized to it. It's sort of like somebody talking to you and you're blocking them out. The cells aren't listening to your the cells aren't listening to the insulin any longer. And the last one is cortisol. Cortisol is your fight and flight. Cortisol is important to be released during times that you need it. Unfortunately, with the high carbohydrate diet, all the caffeine that we typically take, because our blood sugar is up and down, so we need something for energy. So we drink Red Bulls, Monster energy drinks, take caffeine, drink coffee all day long. Well, what that's going to do is that's going to keep your cortisol spiked. Well, cortisol tells your body not to do anything. It tells your body not to lose weight. And cortisol will eventually begin to consume your muscle and turn it into glucose because it thinks that you're starving, it thinks that you got an issue. That's the reason that people are 300 pounds overweight and eating once a day and can't lose any weight. Number one, they're stressed out, their metabolism is slowed down, and the cortisol is high. We address that up front with a by design plan. Now let's talk about estrogen. Estrogen is very important. It is both prevalent in male and female. Of course, in females, it's more prevalent. But you got that fellow with that pear-shaped body and having trouble with his man boobs. He's going to have a real high estrogen level, and that estrogen's got to be controlled, or he will not lose weight. There's a couple things that you can do to control your estrogen if you're trying to lose weight. The biggest thing is cut out all soy products. Soy is the number one contributing factor as far as a substance goes that increases your estrogen level. The other thing that you can do is if you're over 40, or really if you're over 25 and not feeling good, you need to go to your doctor and have your test levels checked. And there's nothing wrong with being on hormone replacement therapy by way of injections. I'm 50 years old. I've been on it since I was 42. I promise you it will change your life. Makes you feel better, just helps you to burn body fat. Now, one of the biggest issues that we have is women that are premenopausal or postmenopausal. Their estrogen levels are up and down and crazy, and so it takes us a little longer and a little harder to figure out what it takes for them to get in that the real good fat burning stage. So estrogen is really important in both male and female. The last hormone, of course, is testosterone. And I already talked about that a little bit. It's responsible, of course, for your sex drive, burning fat, and overall well-being in men, and also energy. Now, I got a couple of products that I sell to help with that. I sell Testalize, and if you're a male with that certain body type, you need to be taking the DIM supplement also to help regulate that estrogen. The Testalize has the DIM in it, but you need a little higher doses based on your body type. If you're that guy that carries all his weight from his chest down, big hips, still struggling with the man boobs, that means you got a very high estrogen and probably a very low testosterone level. So the only way to fix that is, of course, with going for some hormone replacement therapy and doing some supplements. The supplements can help, but if you're over 40 years old and your testosterone levels are below 500, you need to be on something. And doctor may tell you that, listen, you're fine at you're 70 and you're fine with a testosterone level of 200. Find a new doctor. It's not okay. Testosterone levels at 200 are not okay. Punch your doctor in the face and go find another one. So I'm telling you, it'll change your life. Now, the last one is growth hormone. Now, we always hear about human growth hormone and bodybuilders, and it sort of gets vilified, but that's something that is absolutely natural. It's what heals your body. It's what makes you. It's what heals your body. It's what sets everything into motion. If you're sick, have a torn muscle, have an injury in your knee, injury in your shoulder, the human growth hormone is essential to healing that. It's both prevalent in male and female. One of the things that, if you look at Sylvester Stallone, he is a huge proponent of synthetic HGH. Now, I'm not a huge proponent of that, but I can tell you that there is a way that you can greatly increase your HGH levels, making you feel better, making you get over sicknesses faster, and making those injuries that you get in the gym, your recovery time a lot better, which, I'm telling you, the older you get, the harder it is to get over something. Because your HGH is slowing down. Well, what you do is you begin to fast, and what we do is we work you into a fasting period. I start off feeding you 12 to 14 hours a day, and I slowly close that window till we get to that 6-hour optimum window, and you're fasting 18 hours a day. Let me tell you what happens. Scientific studies show that human growth hormone is increased by 2,000% in men and up to 1,300% in women when they begin to fast like this. It is a lifestyle. You say, well, there's no way I can do it. The reason you can't do it is because that insulin's driving that blood sugar down, and that ghrellin's being released. It's telling you you're hungry when you're not hungry. You go eat 5 plates of Chinese food at a Chinese restaurant, and 35, 40 minutes later, you're hungry again. There's no way your belly's full. It's processing the food, but the hormones are telling you your belly's full. Let me tell you, one of the biggest things that I've always that I always preached is if you'll get on the right diet, all of these issues will get straightened out. I hear people all the time, we went to this carnivore plan for a few of my clients. Some of them are eating in a 4 to 6 hour window, and we got to change that. I need them eating protein and fats all day long. I need to readjust that to 10 to 12 hours on this carnivore plan. And their biggest thing is, well, I'm just not hungry. Well, sometimes, in the whole perception that helped me out is when I began to realize that food is fuel. Can food taste good? Absolutely. But food should not be considered a treat. What do? We take our kids to the bank. We need them to be quiet in the drive-thru, so we give them a sucker. We give them sugar. We start our children off with what? Baby formula, which has loaded with corn syrup. I mean, come on. Come on, man, seriously. And then we feed our kids these high sugar diets, resulting in the additives and some of the other issues, a lot of times result in what we think is ADHD. And I know ADHD is real, and I'm not saying that it's not, but I promise you, if you'll cut your children's sugar out of their diet, start feeding them some fruit, and start feeding them a whole, all-natural, non-processed food diet, I promise you, your kids will act better. They're going to rebel for the first few days, but I promise you, eventually they will act better. So the real issue is this high-carb, genetically modified, preservative-rich diet is the issue with all of these hormones. You got about 50 hormones in your body. These are the 7 main ones that we concentrate on to get your everything stable, so that you can ultimately burn the most amount of fat and feel the best that you possibly can. I hope this helps you. By design, we don't treat your weight problem, we treat your hormone problem, resulting in your weight solution, and also several other solutions. We've had a lot of success. People off high blood pressure medicine in under a week. People off cholesterol medicine in under 30 days. People off hormone therapy for women in under 8 weeks. We've seen people's blood sugar go from 300 to 400 to around 100 in 7 days. We've seen people off diabetes medicine in under 30 days. Why? How is it possible? It's not a miracle. It is a miracle because God created His food to heal you. A lot of you have been struggling with issues for years. You don't have to struggle. It can be fixed. There's additional hormones and additional issues that we have to address at time with adrenal fatigue and so on and so forth, and I'll help you through that. If you're looking to become the healthiest you possible, look, I'm sorry, I don't have a magic pill. I don't have a super supplement. I don't have a cream you can rub on you. I don't have something you can rub around your torso and wrap. I don't have none of that stuff because it doesn't work. It does not work. 3% of people who go on a diet succeed. 3% succeed and stay on it. What's wrong with that picture? I'll tell you what's wrong with that picture. They've come up with a man solution, and what we need is God's solution. And God's solution is really, really simple. Get back to eating how He created you to eat. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pray that God bless you rich the only way you can be blessed, through His only born Son, Jesus the Christ. Y'all have a great day.